Unfortunately not.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, the time is 5:32. The date is February 9th, 2026, and I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Alverson is absent. Trustee Wakefield.
Here.
Trustee Schnicker.
Here.
Trustee Gardner. Here. Trustee George.
Here.
Member Tim Harper is running late, and Mark Drinker.
Here. Thank you. All right, do we have any staff or board revisions?
Yes, we do have one. I did get a late request from the fire department. They wanted to come do just a short presentation on a fuel mitigation grant that they are trying to go for. And Clark is here to speak about that, if you wouldn't mind adding that to 6A.
Great, perfect.
Presentations and proclamations.
And Melina and I are making the recommendation to do that instead of during public comment, just so if the board has any questions, they can do that. Clark was willing to just do public comment. We said, no, let's give you a chance
I
to.
wanted to give him more than 3 minutes.
Okay, so that'll be 6A. All right. Do we have any other board revisions? Okay, all right, we'll now move on to public comment. If you're in person and you'd like to make a public comment, you can come to the podium. They'll have 3 minutes, and if you're online and you'd like to make a public comment, please click the raise hand button and we'll promote you to panelist. And I'm going to apologize in advance. My timer is very shrill and loud. I'm sorry. Oh, we silenced it. Interesting. Hold on.
Didn't even know.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jeff Rome. I work for the town of Silverton. In facilities, parks and recreation, I'm a resident of Silverton. I'm hoping to change municipal code 78350 on leash law to allow for designated off-leash areas for dogs within town limits. 9 days ago, my dog Avon suffered 2 puncture wounds from an off-leash dog. The owner of the other dog has been great, paid for her vet bills. Her recovery is not a concern. She'll be fine, but I would like to keep it from happening again. Last year, a dog named Bonnie was killed in town by an off-leash dog. As a runner, I've had too many encounters with off-leash dogs to count. The worst encounter for me last year drew blood. I didn't report it. I should have. Current leash law for Silverton states that an owner must be in physical control of their dog with a leash, cord, or chain 10 feet or shorter if the dog is off the residential or business premises. And this is not enforced unless an aggression occurs. If someone or some dog is bit, it's too late. The damage is done. We're about to have a significant change in leadership. We'll have a new sheriff, a new town administrator, 3 new town council members, maybe less. These new leaders, along with the rest of the town council, will be the ones that can decide whether leash law gets enforced or not. With the addition of designated off-leash areas, I would hope this will feel like a more reasonable ordinance to enforce. Right now, there's no designated off-leash area in town for dogs. I propose changing municipal code to allow for at least 3, one of which has already been approved. 3 off-leash areas would be 1. The baseball field will become a dog park, fully fenced in. This has already been approved and will happen once the ground is no longer frozen. 2, taking a note from our neighboring town of Uray, allow off-season off-leash areas somewhere in town. Following Uray's example of Felon Park, from November 1st to May 1st, dogs under strict command control would be allowed off leash. This area could be Memorial Park, the track by the visitor center, Shrine Road. There are many possibilities. And 3, Kindle Mountain Recreation Area. Most folks have dogs off leash there anyway. It's against the current ordinance as written. During ski lift operating hours, events, or weekend weddings, leash law would still need to be in effect there. It is my hope that by designating at least 3 off-leash dog areas in Silverton, fewer animal at-large conflicts will occur in town. Thank you for your time. This completes my proposal.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great timing too, 16 seconds to spare. Do we have other in-person public comment? All right, do we have any public comment on Zoom? Again, if you'd like to make a public comment, click the raise hand button and we'll promote you to panelist. Let's see, is there anybody, Derek? No? Okay. All right, we'll close public comment. And just for everybody, for those in the audience's benefit, we don't respond to public comment, but we do have a portion in our agenda under open discussion and future agenda items where that's an option for trustees to direct staff or respond to public comment based on the comment. So thank you. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. You'll see in their payroll, meeting minutes, accounts payable, and the special event notice for the Snowmobile Club Radar Run Bags. Go Jim Loki with no snow. We're still trying to salvage some of winter event. Questions from the board or comments on the consent agenda?
Not from me, no.
No.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Melina.
Trustee Wakefield,
Yes.
trustee Schnitger,
Yes.
trustee Gardner. Yes. Trustee George,
Yes.
Mayor Krueger.
Yes. All right, thank you. And now moving on to staff reports. Speaking of dogs, that's a good one. Any questions or comments from the board on the staff report?
No.
I did want to make one note on just an election update since it was brought up before anyway. I did have a resolution drafted in here that we used before back in 2022 to officially cancel the election and then appoint the candidates to their seats. But I looked at our municipal code and we have to wait until 19 days before the election date to do that. And so that would fall on March 20th. And so we could either hold a special meeting on the 20th, or we can do that at our meeting, our regular meeting on the 23rd to pass that resolution and appoint the three candidates to the 3 open seats.
Yeah, remind me how that works. So we'd have the meeting on the 23rd, then would they not still be seated April?
They wouldn't be seated until, so we would still wait until after what would have been the election day.
Okay,
Then they would be seated on April the 13th.
okay,
That would be our first meeting after what would have been election.
yeah, okay. So the election would have happened on the 7th and then they would be April 13th, but we could approve their appointments since they're uncontested
Right.
on the 23rd.
Right, exactly what we did the last time that we just had the same number of candidates as we did seats.
Yeah. Questions from the board on that?
All before your terms?
Yeah. Yes, all 3 of these are 4-year seats. If
Yep.
any of them were less than 4-year seats, we would still have to have an election to determine who would get.
That's what.
Oh, right. Yep, good point, Ron. Okay, so then it seems like direction to put that on the 23rd agenda.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Melina, for paying attention to all the finicky details. Okay, moving on to 6, any other questions on the staff report? No? Okay, John, you're making a lot of snow over there. That's exciting.
Yeah, there's a ton. Lots of snow. Ski touring is gonna be great.
All right, moving on to 6A, presentation and proclamations. We have a late edition of the fire department presenting on a potential grant opportunity. So I invite Clark to come on up.
Quick, I'll squeeze me in real quick. Just a quick update. I think most everyone knows in the last year or two, we've been trying to build our wildland program, to expand its capabilities. Part of that is a mitigation factor as well for, guys are out on fire that can do some mitigation work here in the town and county. So we were just made aware last week, a grant from the International Association of Fire Chiefs has opened up last week. And our fuel reduction grant. So it's a maximum $15,000 grant. And since it kind of falls right into what we're trying to do, we think it might be a great trial run for our program, see what we can get done. After that popped up, we had the gym, OEM and our wildfire council, which is town and county, OEM, sheriff, So we met last Friday, trying to just look for a direction of what we would do with it. So we came up with some recommendations, just because the criteria of this particular grant, it seems like the best having a, a years-long program already made, just to start concentrating on some town infrastructure. Did talk to John, and we seem to think that maybe like the water plant, water sources, Bear Creek especially, be a good place. And also, I mean, lower down the list, you want to be like the sewer plant or even around the ski area, whatever's on town property. And so before we started working on this grant, because it closes in on the 27th, so I didn't want to put much work into it, and you guys, and see what kind of support we could get for that. So the development of the program is not, it's just in our minds right now. So for the next couple of weeks, we could get, I know John and I are going to go out next week and look around at some stuff. And so the next meeting, I definitely have some, presentation for you, the slides and this and that kind of thing. But it was, if I got some kind of inclination from you guys to, okay, go ahead, and it's worth putting the time into, that would be awesome. And so, yeah, that's the short of it. I mean, now that we got time, y'all can ask some questions, whatever, but that's the short of it.
Thanks, Clark.
No merely money is needed. I mean, it's just a 5% grant. I mean, match, and 150 hours of in-kind. That's the kind of thing we could work.
Yeah.
Deal with later, as far as the exacts of how we would come up with that.
Great. Thanks for being here. Questions from the board?
And so it closed on the 27th. Do you know when you'll hear if you get the grant?
It's about a month later.
A month later, yeah.
I meant to bring that date. It's usually 3-4 weeks later.
Great.
This was late breaking. Clark didn't hear till just now that we're coming. Yes. Yeah.
Reason for want to start instantly and get the ball rolling even before we have the plan developed, because it is IFC, they were granted this money. It's a FEMA money, so it's got a federal component to it. So we've got a lot of ducks to get in a row. I mean,
Yeah.
most of them are there, but we just got to make sure and go through the dot i's, crossing t's.
So are you looking, so just to clarify, Clark, when you're talking about town infrastructure and fuels reduction, you're talking about reducing fuels on town infrastructure. Like you'd focus on town-owned properties, like you said, mentioned. Yeah, water sources, treatment.
For other, maybe some larger properties to, between now and the close of the grant to add in a project. But as far as the stuff that's on town property, that's what I was asking for.
Yeah, so you're looking for kind of permission, support from the board to move forward if we were to do this on town property and go forward with it.
Right.
Letter of support eventually, or, yeah.
Exactly, and then I'll have something, concrete for you.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, but I just didn't want to start working on it and then get shot down.
Yeah, sure, of course. Thoughts, questions from the board? And Jim and Carl, you guys are online, so certainly feel free to chime in. I see thumb up from Jim. Carl, any questions for you, for Clark, on this potential grant for fuel reduction?
No specific questions. It sounds good to me. Thanks for checking in.
Great, thanks. Tyler, Ron, Amy? Great, okay. Yeah, great, go forth.
Thank you.
Now that works. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck. Thanks. I know it's hard to find this funding these days, so glad you have an option. Yeah. Thanks for coming on short notice, Clark. Okay, moving on to business item 7A, MRF groomer lease purchase. So I think we have a memo from Clayton for any update, and also Melina is available for.
Hello, board. How is everyone today?
Hi.
Give me a second while I go between screens here. Melina, if you want to start, I'll catch up when my screen catches up here.
Yeah, so there's So this is the groomer purchase that has been held up for a little while. I know that there was an issue with the sales tax exempt form that was originally submitted to the bank. Clayton has been working with the to get that cleared up, and it sounds like from his memo, it has been cleared up. And hopefully we can move forward with the groomer purchase from Printeth after we get the funds released from the bank. And get it here sooner rather than later. We're really lucky that it hasn't been a really heavy winter and we have did it. Yeah, it sounds like we can hopefully move forward based on Clayton's recommendations.
Yeah, thanks, Melina. And so I think I outlined specifically, I wanted to make sure I had this in front of me because there are some specific numbers here. The long and short of it is it's going to be way less expensive to forego tax exempt status. Some of the owners here is on the bank for processing it at the beginning. I don't want to say incorrectly, but just on the wrong path. And so we had to go back and undo that when the San Juan's attorney came forward and approached me and said, I don't think this is. He at first thought basically that I had written a tax exempt letter that included that included too much authority, and I went back and looked at the letter, and the tax exempt letter was fine, and then we clarified that, and then basically what they determined was it's not worth the juice isn't worth the squeeze here on going for bond counsel. We approached the bond counsel, and as you can see in the report, the bond counsel would be more than 4 times what it would cost to just pay the extra 2% in interest and keep it in its current status. And that's assuming that we take the entire 60 months to pay off the loan for the lease purchase. And so with that 2% difference, versus delaying this any further, we wanted to bring this to the town because it is a fiscal expenditure that requires BOT approval, past what was originally presumed at the original meeting wherein you guys all voted to go ahead and purchase the groomer. It went from, it's going to be an extra roughly $7,083. My suggestion is that if you approve the purchase of the groomer, you do it with at the higher interest rate and not at the specific dollar amount, because that could be subject to change by just a few dollars. We don't have to bother the board again with any of the like small dollar amount changes. So long short of it is it went from a 5% to a 7% interest rate from the last time you looked at it, which is going to roughly yield an extra expenditure of $7,083 to the town.
Right. Thanks, Clayton.
Yep.
And again, the memo recommending we're not doing this under a tax exempt status because we.
But can apply to the state for a refund on those taxes?
No, our state taxes are exempt. There's more than just state taxes. So my tax exempt letter covered a state sales tax and all what is called local tax rates. Again, I think I covered that in a memo. But that tax exemption does not make it a completely tax exempt status as far as tax exemptions for federal and for borrowing. And so there's more than just state sales tax involved in a transaction. And so we waived everything we possibly could without going through bond counsel and getting this become a full tax exempt transaction. There's still other taxes in play here. The one that we care about is the tax exempt interest rate, which we cannot get. That's not a state. That's not state funding or state sales tax. So we've already exempted everything we can under CRS 29-26-7041. Everything else would require a lot more process and more money to get there, and more money than it's worth.
Great. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. So we're looking for direction from the board to continue to proceed with the groomer purchase. with, again, these new interest rate terms.
And I know that it's not teed up in the memo, but I think because it's financial, I think it would probably be best to have a motion to.
Motion resolution, yeah. Great. Okay, other questions from the board on the memo or the pricing?
No, but so we'll end up saving money in the long run with this option, Clayton, is that what you're saying?
By a lot. So if we want to continue with the groomer, we can either go through bond council, try to get full tax exempt status so we can get that, keep that 5% that you previously approved for the lease purchase. Or we can just pay for the extra, just pay it as a non-tax exempt interest rate at 7%. And so we're saving roughly, $23,000 by going this route if we want to continue with the purchase of the groomer.
Right,
And
it's,
Cost 30,000.
yeah, bond council will
Right.
cost 23,000. So the interest rate increase is 7,000 more than we originally thought. But if we
Right.
want to get the 5% interest, we would need to expend $23,000.
Yeah, at the beginning, you were brought bad numbers, and that's not the board's fault. We were correcting it. That's why there's attorneys involved and town clerks and, loan officers. And this was just a funding error that was made by the bank. And this is the correction. And so, if you wanted to continue, again, I would say a motion would be, we would like to continue with purchase of the 2017 Prenoth Groover at the 7% interest rate over the 5% interest rate previously presented, or something, or words to that effect. And if not, you can make a motion to terminate the purchase.
Great, thanks for teeing that up. So is it the intention of the board to keep moving forward with the purchase of the groomer?
Yeah.
I'm seeing nodding.
Mhm.
Yep, so this is one administrative piece. Okay. All right, I'd entertain a motion to proceed with the purchase of the 2017 Plymouth Groomer at the 7% interest rate versus the 5% interest rate that was originally presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call please, Melina.
Trustee Wakefield,
Yes.
trustee Schnicker,
Yes.
trustee Gardner,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harper,
Yes.
Mayor Cranker.
Yes. Great, thanks team. Thanks Clayton and Melina for working through that. Hopefully Melina will keep those bank documents signed. Get that thing purchased.
Get it here before the weekend.
Yeah, yeah. I hear we're gonna get a ton of snow in March, so
Wednesday.
Wednesday, you want to?
Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah, John wants it by Wednesday for ski Jordan. Yeah, okay, all right, moving on to 7B, Special Improvement District 8 and, I did one quick note. No, I'll bring this up later, never mind. 7B, Special Improvement District 8 and Bluff update.
That's gonna be me again. So I did write an agenda packet for this. Pulling that up now, make sure I have the right one. You have that in front of you there. This is another update to the Special Improvement District to kind of bring you up to speed on where we're at. There's no action required here. I have spoken with our bond counsel here, and in this case, obviously, the juice is worth the squeeze with bond counsel and getting this under the proper status. And we are, backing this with. This is a town-backed project, and so there's a lot of moving pieces and people involved. I've spoken with Paul Kosnick, who is the SID attorney, and I've spoken via email with Mr. Diener, who's who's kind of the head of the property owner, the SID property owners. And this is kind of where we settled amongst the attorneys. The key here is that what the board has to understand is when we're looking at these steps, these are not necessarily perfectly linear steps. And so step 1 and step 2 aren't necessarily, in this case they are, but as an example, step 3 and 4 aren't necessarily a predicate to like step 5 and step 6. And so some of this stuff is happening at the same time, and some of this is happening as a domino effect of another completing another step. And so it's not really easy to just kind of say, oh, we did 6 and now we're going to 7. So in this case, what I'd like to explain to the board is that right now we are working on 6 and 7, which don't have to necessarily have to wait, but we can tee up the bid, for example, while we're getting final design and engineering. And at the same time, it was determined that step 8 was more or less completed when we did the ordinance, the original ordinance setting up the SID, because we met all the requirements of the preliminary order. And then the next step for the town is, and it does, again, we don't have to necessarily wait to receive the bid, but we need to notice the assessments and consider any complaints or objections. And that would bring us to our next and final step before the project actually, somebody actually puts a shovel in the ground, which is the ordinance authorizing the project. And so everything where we're at now is completing steps 6 through 9, excluding step 8, which has been completed. And then we will issue an ordinance authorizing the project to the winning contractor based on our request for bids, and the project will be underway. It's hard to say what that timeline is going to look like because we don't know if we're going to have to consider any complaints or objections from the property owners. The property owners, while they did vote to spend the money on the project, they did not have, as I recall, there was at least one abstainer. It was a non-unanimous decision, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be a complaint or objection. It just means we have to go through that step, and I can't tell you if we're going to receive one or not. But I just, if we haven't, it's kind of easier to answer questions than it is to explain all the moving pieces. But at this time, just understand that the town is working on the steps that we need to work on. Our property owners are providing all the necessary information directly and or by or through their attorney to make sure that we have everything we need to continue. And our bond counsel, who's working with, it's Butler and Snow, we're working directly with Miss Kim Crawford, they're happy with where we're at, and they're completing, and they're waiting on, they're working on what they need to on their end. The one thing that we really kind of need to trigger everything at this point is a final design so that that bid can go out. We can issue the actual assessment, and we're very close to that. So pending your questions, there's no action items on this tonight.
Thanks, Clayton. I think a big question I have is sort of the relationship between, this might be a little bit for you too, John, in terms of just the overall plan and engineering. So the relationship between the engineering plans, what Public Works wants, the engineering plans, the estimated cost of that, and then the bank, then like the amount to then lead to the assessment. Like we can't assess the property owners until we know what the project's going to cost. And to know what the project's going to cost, we need updated engineering plans. And to get updated engineering plans, we need to know, final recommendations from Public Works, right? So those are kind of the things in my mind. So I have 2 questions in relation to Public Works and engineering is, can we have SGM draft the final engineering plans for the RFP? Because or my question would be, who else besides SGM, our town engineers, would put together the bid packet?
I think Jim would be the perfect ones to put together the
Okay.
bid packet, and then that way you get the engineering estimate. That's gonna get you as close as you're gonna get. Now, when it goes out to bid, of course, that number is not divulged, and that number may come back a lot higher than
Right.
the engineering estimate.
Yeah, okay, so we could say, all right, we want SGM to put together the RFP to look like that meets our specs. And, working with the there's a lot of work that's already been done. They can go from that. And then that SGM's time would be billed to the SID, right? We would account for it as SID cost. And And so what steps do we need to take to have SGM move forward with that? Like, what does the town need to have a resolution? Like, do we need to do something in particular to tell our town engineer to move forward?
I think that's gonna be more of a Clayton question as far as if,
Put the RFP together.
I
Yeah.
think we want the SGM to put the RFP together.
Yeah.
With Clayton, he gives us yay, nay, and then it's as simple as a phone call saying, move forward with this.
This is on your to-do list for town.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I did speak to Dan Oakley last week, and he's redoing some of my requests. So, he's aware of everything.
Okay. So Clay, what would be the steps for the RFP being put together? And what do you need from the board to make that happen?
Really for the RFP, I mean, we're really close. John's correct. We have almost, I mean, I would say like 98% of the way there, whatever it is. I mean, we're so close. I think the final piece of the puzzle is there was a last minute change. And John, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding from the email traffic. And there's so many different parties here, so understand that like none of this is just like this very simple conversation, but we made a last minute change to loop the sewer or whatever it was, and that's going to require like a tweak in the final design and engineering. Once that's been made and that's reflected in our drawings and everything else is in place, the maps, the cost per linear foot and all the estimates. I think at the end of the day, what we're dealing with is just that final design blueprint or schematic, whatever it is that is being provided by whoever's doing those drawings. Once we get that, I think, we can start our bid. The assessment is not dependent on actual numbers based on the bid. The assessment, the notice of assessment can be sent out based on probable cost, and that could be determined, by our engineers, by our staff. And so again, that's why it's kind of confusing here. So we're not waiting on necessarily to get the bid back to do the actual notice of assessment, because the money has already been allocated up to a certain dollar amount. We can just look at probable cost per, like, say, front foot or other unit basis pursuant to the statute, and it doesn't have to be exact. But there are certain like approximates and estimates that have to be in that assessment. And so that's why the whole thing's kind of fluid. I think right now we're literally waiting on a drawing that encapsulates the last minute change to the design.
Okay, because really, and I think that's the part that's confusing for all of us, is that the assessment number is a guess, right? Like, it's not like final until the project is completed.
That's correct.
And
It's
so that's-
probable.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a probable number. It's an estimate. The whole thing is full of, if you look at that particular section of the statute, some of you, I don't know if you're, like to read the statute or not, but if you look at part 4 of that statute that I indicate in number 9 of your MFR or the agenda memo, it's full of words like approximate, probable, estimate. It's not contemplating that you've received an actual bid and these are the numbers.
Yeah.
And obviously you can't do that, but we do have our estimated project costs from the election, and then we have our very close to finished design, and so we can determine via our engineers or our knowledgeable public works staff that this is what we think it's going to be assessed to each property owner, and we can send out the notice and start the clock running on that. I think typically that is not a long process, because I believe by the statute they only have period of 20 days to respond.
Okay, once that notice of assessment goes out.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
And
and
then,
that's all. And we're not waiting on the bid for that, but we are,
okay,
we are waiting to submit the bid for the final engineering plan, final engineered plans.
Yep, gotcha. So that's super helpful to know. Those things can happen in tandem. The engineer can finish the engineering plans. The RFP package can be assembled by Public Works and the engineer, or who,
GM.
as SGM would assemble the RFP. Yep, okay. So, and then that goes out, and in the meantime, the notice of assessment can be worked on.
Yeah, we can be waiting on bids to come in while we're waiting on complaints,
Gotcha.
if any.
Okay.
So that 20-day period could be the same, or overlap, or, we could, we can domino them. It really is up to the town. I think for the timeline here, if we want to get a shovel in the ground during building season, the sooner the better.
Yeah. Okay. Then the last question I had was in terms of the banking and financing, like we still have to have a banking partner that's willing to play ball with us. And so how does that fit into all this?
Well, that's correct. My understanding, however, in talking with, and I'm not talking for Ken, but and this would be a better question for Butler and Snow, but they seem my perception anyways, that the funding was really not an issue. That there would be plenty of funding opportunities and players if and when we get to that point, right? So because the bonding's in place, I don't think it's going to be like, oh, can we find a bank to do this? I think it's going to be like, which bank is going to which bank is going to do this? Because once you get the bond in place, it becomes a very very low risk loan for for the banks. And so if the banks are looking, will look at these as, at least that's my impression. Again, I'm not a bond counsel, I'm not in finance, but my understanding is that these are kind of more sought after type loans versus like an unsecured loan.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of more hard to explain, but it's because it's town backed. I don't think the issue is the financing. The issue is just making sure that our numbers are in place so that they can actually go grab the money.
Yeah. And working through whatever steps or paperwork or whatever they need from us to issue a loan.
Right. They don't, there's not much left to do there.
Yeah. Okay.
They have most of what they need. What they're really relying on at the moment is to see this final engineered design. And once we put out the bid, of course, we'll have our hard number that they can plug and play. But my impression was that pretty much we're not going to be waiting on Butler and Snow.
Yeah. Okay.
We're going to be waiting on our end.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Sorry.
And
okay.
I can get you a better answer on that, Madam Mayor, but that's my impression was there's no concern for financing.
Great. Yeah. Or there's not something that a bank needs in the interim from the town board to be worked on.
That's what Kim is taking care of.
Great. Okay. Perfect.
So in that same sense, yeah, it's a $3.6 million project. Do we need an appraisal on all everything? If this thing would start to fall apart, do we need an appraisal on all that property to see if it'll cover that $3.6 million?
That's not, that's again, not us. That's why the bond council looks at the plans and does all that. I mean, they're going to back it. That's the beauty of the SID property owners are going to end up paying for it. But I mean, that's why these things are not all, that's why so many different people are involved. We don't have to worry about it because the bond councils they're going to, when they come in and say, yes, this project is fundable, that's pretty much it. That's why on that last project, the groomer thing, for, $127,000 project was going to cost us $30,000. Part of what we pay for with bond counsel is them to come and make that determination and back the loan or the lease or the financing, whatever vehicle it is. And I trust that they know what they're doing, but we're not going to be doing our own appraisals. We're not going to be doing our own, because once we make the determination to authorize a project, that's all going to be taken care of.
Or to say in another way, the town is not on the hook for that financing, for that money.
Well, I mean, no, we are. That's why the financing is going to be easy, but the bond council is stating that the project, that there's enough leverage that the project's that the
Viable.
town isn't going to lose money on the project, meaning like if we had to, there's enough value in what we can put liens on, which would be those properties.
Yeah.
That basically the properties cost more than the utilities we're putting in front of them, is what the bond council is going to come back or what they have to determine. And Kim didn't give any indication that this project is over leveraged or anything like that.
Yeah, so they're serving on our behalf to make that determination.
Yes.
Gotcha, yeah. Does that answer your question, Ron?
Yes.
Thanks. Other questions, Carl or Jim? Don't want to leave you guys out if you had questions on this.
No questions from me, thanks.
Tyler, Amy? No? Okay. So it sounds like this was an update and so John, you're moving forward with engineering and SGM and those next steps?
I'm staying in contact with SGM.
Great.
And right now he's redrawing everything.
Yeah.
And the SID, Jeff knows that he is working on it.
Okay, gotcha. Perfect. Okay.
And then it's been a huge email.
I can imagine those email chains. I've been on them.
And what I can do for the board, I'll get the specifics to those questions, because I understand it in generalities, because I've never worked as a bond counsel. It's a very, very nuanced, specific area of law. But I'll get those answers to the questions, exactly how the financing is secured and when, and how do you leverage the financing against the properties.
That's perfect. And Clay, if I could just ask you to kind of be the person on the timeline, like, again, if we're like, to me, it doesn't make sense to keep doing this if we're not going to do it. And so if we're going to do and like move forward with shovels in the ground, then let's do it.
Yeah,
And so
we're doing it so far.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of
Yeah.
stuff that the board doesn't get to see. And I think at this point, one thing that would be beneficial is to just set a status update every 2 weeks.
Great. Okay.
Something's going to happen, or something should be happening every 2 weeks, that it'll be worthwhile to just update the board, because right now it's about to get, until we get an issue, the ordinance authorizing the project, there's going to be a lot of moving pieces, and the board should be in the know going forward exactly where we're at.
Okay, that's a great recommendation. And it also allows time on the agenda in case there is something that the board needs to approve or submit.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so Melina and Derek, are you guys good with adding that? That'd be great. Okay, perfect. All right, any other discussions on this topic? Nope. Okay, moving on. 8A, this is the municipal judge application. And this is Melina. Thanks, Clayton.
Judge Kelly Tompkins is our new county judge, and she is also our only applicant for the municipal judge position, which is kind of perfect. It's the same role that Anthony served in those dual positions. It would be better that she already have that going on over there, because our position is not very high paying, which she is aware of, and very part-time, most part. But her application is in the packet. I think that it would be great to have her be the next municipal judge, and depending on how you would like me to proceed, I can either set up for you to interview her, or we can offer her the position, depending on how you want to move forward.
I think we just offer her the position. Only applicable. Makes a lot of sense. She has great references as well.
Yeah. She's already our sitting county judge, so it makes sense.
Will her job in Texas take her out of pocket often? Does she do all her work here?
I do not know. I would have to ask her. I would imagine that if they hired her as the county judge here, that it must not be.
No, I mean for the firm she works for in Texas.
I'm not sure. I would have to ask her. I don't know.
That's the only question I'd have.
Yeah, I can reach out to her and ask her how much of that time it takes up and how often she's actually here. Considering we only hold municipal court once a
Month, yeah.
I'm sure she could probably make that work.
Okay.
Anthony usually did, and he was in Pagosa a lot of the time too, so. A lot closer, obviously, than Texas, but.
I appreciated Kelly applying. I thought the references were great. And again, she was our only and greatest applicant. I mean, she's very well qualified and she was our only applicant, so that's great. But I think great to move forward.
But yeah, I can ask her about her firm in Texas, and if it doesn't seem like it'll be a problem, we can move forward. Hopefully keep on track for our court date in March.
Great. Nice to move forward with that transition. Jim or Carl, anything to add on the municipal judge?
I'm excited. She's a
Great.
great candidate.
Good. Move forward.
Very good.
Great. So is the direction that if the answer to Ron's question is, not a conflict, not a problem, not concerning, to move forward? And or Clayton, do you have a recommendation that we absolutely need to do an interview, or can we move forward administratively based on the board's direction?
I would take a bird in the hand here.
Great. Yep. Let's do that. Okay, great. Thanks, Lena. All right, moving on to 9A, committee reports. Did anybody have any other committees to add? No. No, okay. I did the Region 9 committee. I'm so excited when Elizabeth's will be on board and we can trade on those, but I do love joining Region 9. Every time I'm there, it's just a reminder of how much they advocate for our region. Shaq gave a big update on broadband. Again, we're really working on broadband redundancy so that we don't, get taken out by one shovel backhoe. So Region 9 just continues to work on our behalf. And, I don't have the slides. I meant to send them, but I'll put it in next time's consent agenda. But they had a great slide that basically just showed by county the dues we pay, which Silverton pays very few dues to Region 9, and the dollars that they bring back to our community in terms of just overall support they provide. And that doesn't even count the stuff they do for the whole entire region. It just counts the stuff that they actually do to support Silverton. So it was a really compelling slide that we're getting 150% of what we put in. And so if anybody's ever interested in going to one of those, you're welcome to join, and really great to network with people. There's a couple new town administrators in the region. So I think that'll be a great, kind of freshman class for Elizabeth. And then there's also some seasoned veterans. So it's a really great networking opportunity for her to take advantage of. So great plug for Region 9. And they're always working on stuff for us. Great questions. Okay, no other committees? All right. I did want to say something for the committee. Kind of relates to the groomer, because I know we're all thinking low winter, not a lot of snow, Kendall's not been open, that revenue line item has taken a hit. And so one thing Melina and I were talking about was having an update at the finance committee on just kind of revenue in Parks and Rec, right? How's that looking, because we haven't been able to open Kendall all season. And just kind of think about what that means going forward. I mean, obviously, we're still moving forward with the groomer. That's for Public Works and for Kendall. But just thinking about being proactive to think about what is revenue at Kendall going to look like. I think rentals are super strong in terms of events. And we did raise rates, so that helped. But revenue for winter has been very challenging. So I'd love for the finance committee to get an update from the budget side and from Steve's team on that. Any thoughts?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add there?
So on finance committee, that does fall on, it's supposed to be next Monday. Would you like to still hold that? Do you want to move it because it's President's Day? Do you want to How would you like to?
President's Day.
We could do it quickly. You know, we could move it to 1 o'clock on the 20th. No, we can't, no, do we have a housing authority? Oh, sorry. No, we can't do that. We could do it that morning at 9 AM instead, or if you want to still hold it next Monday, the 16th, or if you want to move it to a different day. How would you like me to schedule that?
I can do it Monday, but I'll have to zoom in.
Okay, yeah.
What about you?
Jim, do you want to do Monday and keep it or move to Tuesday or the following Monday?
I'd love to move it if possible, but if not, no worries. We can figure that out.
What about Tuesday morning, the 17th? Or the 23rd in the morning?
1 AM on the
That's-
20th.
Either one works for me.
23rd is good. I'm
23rd?
on shift.
Okay.
So that's.
Okay, what if we move it? later?
Thank you, guys. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, that's great. And then that'll give a little time, you know, give Steve the heads up post ski touring of a little.
Yeah, I'd like to get on a little bit of time. And then I also did reach out to the utility committee. Because John would like to hold a meeting since Lindsay is gone. Obviously, I don't think this Wednesday would work. Would the 18th or the 25th work for either one of you, Ron and Carl?
18th won't work for me.
18th won't work for you. That's right. You said that you have a meeting. So Carl, would the 25th Wednesday utility committee work for you?
Yes, it should.
And either 3 PM or 4 PM, what's better for your schedule?
3 PM doesn't work for me. Only 4 PM works.
Only 4 PM. Okay, that's what I thought because of the school. Okay, so the 25th
25th, great, utility committee.
at 4 PM. Okay, cool. All right, that's all I have for committee questions.
Great, thanks. Thanks for letting us take care of those logistics. Sometimes it's easier when everybody's in the same room instead of sending 5 emails. Okay, agenda item 10, open discussion, future agenda items.
I've got a question, and I don't know if it's for Clayton or for the town board, but why do we have 7 trustees? That's one for 100 town people.
That's a statutory number, and so the town, you know, there's ways to change, you can reduce the number of trustees. It's been brought up, I don't, probably annually by most towns.
About this time of year.
Yeah, right before elections. But it's a statutory number, and so that's a default. And then you do have the opportunity to change to reduce that number. Typically, that's not done. If and until a town is really struggling to fill a board, as a best practice and as my advice and what I think you get from 95% of town attorneys, municipal attorneys in Colorado is that if you have the interest in having a 7-person board, then you should fill a 7-person board. It's only until you are going with unseated, trustee positions that you would consider reduction, just because you get more perspectives. You have, it's easier to obtain a quorum, everything about it. There's pros and cons, but I'd say the pros far outweigh, in my opinion. But again, that's not my decision. If it's something that the board wants to look at, and I can bring you the process and pros and cons, but the short answer is statutory default, but you can change it.
Thanks, Peyton. My recommendation would be, if this is something the new board that gets seated in April wants to take up, that would be the time, talk about it through trustee retreat. If that's something to put on the priority list, then that'd be a good time to talk about it. I think on one hand, it's like, it is hard to get a number of people to fill 7 seats on this community. And I've had the same reflections over the 4 years on the board. And I've also seen, to Clayton's point, the value of 7 different people. And then to get a quorum, if someone's gone, you can have a quorum. So there are pros and cons. Yeah. So maybe something to bring up in trustee retreat when the new board is seated.
If we didn't have three people interested for the three seats, then it would probably be a discussion that you all could have. But since we do have three people that want the three seats, can't tell them no,
I understand.
you know.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a good question. We certainly couldn't do it for probably this current process. That would not be recommended. But going forward, if the board wanted to say, hey, for our town, we think something different might be in order, that'd be the time to have that, I think. Yeah. Other open discussion, things people
The
further.
next thing I had, the gentleman was talking about dogs running loose and getting bit and all that. We haven't sold a single dog tag this year, so
That's right.
apparently doing any enforcement on that. Or dogs not on leashes or
Yeah, I think,
whatever.
yeah, I think there needs to be stricter regulations for dogs on leash within town limits.
Mhm.
I agree with what you're saying.
I totally agree as well.
So would the board, so I got an email from Jeff that was really thoughtful, and I also encourage him to speak to the rest of my colleagues, if he'd like to. And you know, one that I had was like a mini task force, because I went back to our code, and our code is really not super. I mean, it's definitely enforceable. It's for sure enforceable. But I thought, you know, I wonder if Silverton would appreciate a more nuanced approach. And I think Jeff had a lot of really great suggestions, like striking the balance off-leash areas and on-leash areas. And maybe it would be worth having a very small working group, right? Like have 3 community members that would be willing to kind of put a little time in discussing this and coming up with some recommendations. And maybe a staff member. But I would want to check in with staff and kind of see, okay, again, where does this fit on priority lists? And so, or we could just say, hey, Jeff had some great ideas. Let's just do that. But I want to revisit this topic after we give a chance for staff to have, you know, I'm not going to put code enforcement on the spot or staff on the spot for licensing. But question to the board is this something we want to put on an agenda to look into?
Yeah.
Maybe Personnel and Ordinance Committee could take
think,
it up
yeah.
with some community input, or what are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Personnel and Ordinance Committee could be a good place to start there. I think also, you know, more of those regulations can ultimately help with the dog poop issue in town as well. People.
That's also in our code. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and workshopping it through a committee would give a chance for staff to provide some recommendations. Yeah, so thoughts, but again, I think we should move forward if the whole board wants to say, yeah, let's prioritize this for a committee. Let's go, let's do it. So I'm here.
I have a short time left
Amy.
on, so, but I would like to, but I know I'm not gonna be.
Huh? Yeah. Thoughts? You're also, this is the challenge we always face this time of year. It's kind of a lame duck session, right? Like that's what I would call it.
Right.
I mean, I think that we should get as many working groups and subcommittees together as possible. Moving.
Thanks, Tyler. Well, assuming you're going to be our community representative on type of.
I'm really busy.
Okay. So question for the board, should we put this on the agenda list for when we reform the Personnel and Ordinance Committee? I don't want to waste people's time, but I also want to move forward if we want to.
So you're saying the ordinances aren't clear, or you need to reevaluate them, or it's,
Well, the ordinance is pretty clear. In town limits, you must have your dog on a leash.
what's the problem?
Well, because I think what we heard from Jeff was a much more nuanced.
Jeff wants the ability for people to have their dogs off leash in specific areas, like in designated areas, because the board already told him that we could convert the baseball field into a dog park. So he wants to make sure that the ordinance is in line with, if we allow dogs to be off leash within a dog park, then that's not going to violate the current ordinance. So we would need to amend the ordinance, and allowing them over at Kendall during off-season hours or Memorial Park during certain hours. So that the ordinance would allow it and it wouldn't be in violation of allowing that. That's what he's asking for. And then enforcing the leash law in town.
Well, maybe too, that's something where you mentioned there's going to be a new sheriff coming in as well. I think it's one of those things that is very important and also very hard to enforce. in our small town. And maybe a working group when we get, you know, the interim sheriff appointed and the new personnel and ordinance committee, but I don't know, I would like to see it get paid attention to.
Revisited, yeah.
Yeah.
I think if all of a sudden we told Bevan and the sheriff, you need to be, the town board wants you to write tickets for every single dog off leash, that would be a significant culture change in this community.
Right.
And my experience in this community is you have to kind of hold people's hands through the process.
Mhm.
We will get a room full of comments if we don't just, I think, move forward intentionally.
Mhm.
That would be my suggestion, because it would be a significant departure. It's okay for the board to say, yes, that's what we want to do. We really want to hammer on this code violation. And that's what we want to do. The board could absolutely say that. And politically, I would suggest that we would do better to get a little bit of community engagement and do this a little bit more nuanced through a committee with some of the suggestions that I think we heard today. That'd be my suggestion.
Yeah.
But we could absolutely, as a board, say, nope, starting tomorrow, we really think this is something we gotta address.
I like your approach.
You're short, Tom.
I mean, I think having more off-leash areas, that way, I think it makes sense. I think it's much easier to have stricter enforcement if there's more areas that are offered.
Jim or Carl, do you have suggestions on an approach to take? If this is an issue the board wants to take up or through a committee, want to direct stronger enforcement right off the bat, or do we want to do this through a committee with changing some nuance in the code, or both?
I'm more than willing to discuss it in subcommittee.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we should look at a draft in a subcommittee and also consider steps for engaging the community.
Thanks, Carl. I mean, we can take this very much like the wildlife, right? A group of people that cared a lot about it, workshopped it, and then worked with the Personnel and Ordinance Committee to draft a new ordinance, and we adopted it. That was very successful citizen engagement, in my perspective, and seemed to work pretty well. So the question is, do we do it with our current formation of our committee or wait till a new board is seated? How soon can, put on your guys' to-do list? I haven't put on Amy's to-do list before she leaves. No. I mean, it's a question for staff on can we schedule those meetings or get, I mean, this doesn't have to take forever. We can have a agenda item on a Personnel and Ordinance Committee. We can invite Jeff to come with a draft and anybody else that's interested. Ask him to tackle it. Are you up for it? Who's on that? It's Jim, Carl, and Amy. You guys are very effective.
I'm fine with that. I mean, if we can get it done and scheduled and the public notified and in a good amount of time. And maybe it's just like the first meeting is what we,
Sure, great.
not like we're gonna finalize that ordinance and say, okay, here's what's happening.
Government doesn't
Just
move
like-
that quickly.
The intro of like the discussion to bring it up to the Personnel and Ordinance Committee and
When would you like to have this meeting?
maybe before April 1st.
End of March.
Or just, I'm good at.
Make that work.
Does that feel doable, Melina, Evan? You available end of March to join a P&O committee meeting?
Yeah, what's the date?
We don't know yet, but yeah. Just, how about this? Let's make it happen if our 3 P&O committee members and Bevan can be present.
I will get that scheduled. March, end of March.
Okay, thanks, guys. Good open discussion. Leash law was on my list too. So other open discussion items? Ron, more items on your list?
That was it.
Okay. All right. All right. We are now opening up for public comment. We have no public comment in person. Do we have any public comment on Zoom? If you'd like to click the raise hand button, we will promote you to panelist and you will have 3 minutes.
Hey, can you hear me?
You can, go ahead.
Ron, I want you to know that I've probably been the only person that's continued to purchase a dog tag every single year.
Thank
Yep.
you.
And
Yep.
you know, I don't like being alone. I like to know everybody else's dogs have rabies shots and stuff. But the biggest question in what's coming up here is, as I've said before, you are responsible for how your contractor fills the contract. So if the sheriff isn't meeting your needs, then you need to take the time to think about what you're going to do, because you haven't had a sheriff meeting most of your town needs for a long time. And this responsibility does fall on you to make the contractor follow your contract. If not, you can always go back to a police department, which is more on hand to the town of Silverton and will enforce more of what you ask to be enforced. It used to be very successful that way. I am glad that you're talking about changes, but your change of a sheriff relies only on whether or not they're interested in enforcing any law within the town limits. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have other public comment? Again, if you'd like to make a public comment, click the raise hand button and we'll promote you to panelist.
Remove permission. There you go.
Let's see, I can't tell. Do we have any more public, no more public comment? Okay, we will close public comment and we're now going to entertain a motion for executive session. If you are online and you could please jump off the Zoom, that would be great, because we will be entertaining a motion to enter executive session here shortly. We can go ahead and do the motion right now. Let me make sure I have the right one first. 24/6. Okay, let's see. All right,
Madam Mayor,
go ahead.
I
Yeah.
wanted to just update the board on the process here. You have those, you have the script and the announcement. It will be plural, so Mr. Nick Poppy will be joining us as well.
Okay, great. Yeah.
And so if you see anybody in the waiting room that you don't recognize, it might be Nick, but I think it would come up under his email, but he knows that we're jumping on in a few minutes. And so if we do enter now, just make sure that he can get into it if we close it to the public. But you can go ahead and read and start, but I just want to let you know that we don't have Nick yet. He knows he's going to be joining in the next few minutes.
Okay, that's great. Is that good for the board? And Lena, you're okay with that? We won't lock it yet? Okay.
Yeah, I'll give them a couple.
All right. I would entertain a motion to enter executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024B to conference with the town attorneys to receive legal advice regarding the ongoing litigation in the Ruizes versus Silverton case number 2024CV01.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Amy, seconded by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right. All right, we can give it just a second and we'll wait for Nick to join us. Before we talk the,
Zoom updated too, and it's been moved, so it might take me a minute to find.
okay, no worries. We'll give it just,
And Melina, is it a different? It's the same link, correct?
It's the same what?
It's the same link that's on the
Yes.
that's on the agenda. Okay.
Same link.
you know, tell all the commissioners.
Want me to hold your hand?
Don't be on a leash.
I saw a group of people standing on the snow pile today.
Well,
They on a leash?
No,
That's not our designated offer.
they won't. I'm starting to move the pile tomorrow.
nice.
So
Okay.
it's gonna get smaller starting tomorrow.
We're like right across the river now. It's like, Get off of there.
Blocking the sun.
They're blocking the sun so it won't.
The pile is blocking the sun.
Oh, okay.
In the sun.
And Clayton, just to clarify, Nick's last name is Poppy?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I think he pronounces it, I think it's,
Oh.
every time somebody asks, it makes me second guess. Because I think people call him Nick Pope, but they want to say Pope, but it's not. Because I've worked with him a few times and I just know him as Nick. And so we can just ask him, I guess. But my understanding is that it's Nick Poppy.
Okay,
I wouldn't bet a lot of money on it. And
okay.
so.
All right, we'll give it just a minute.
It's also Clayton's nickname,
Poppy? Pope.
Poppy.
Did you get it? Do you get it? Well, I can't block it yet, so I'm waiting for him to. But you figured out how? What if you go down to go to the Lowe's bottom part? Go to the settings on the bottom part. That's all this up here. Oh, that is.
Ooh, hold on. I might have. Hold on a second here. Uh-oh. All right. I texted him I texted to his wrong number. It's my fault. Give me 1 second. He's got to have two numbers here. There it is. All right, he has two numbers and I texted the wrong one, so it might be a few more minutes, but he should jump on. I know he's waiting because I sent him an email as well. So I was supposed to give him a 10-minute text warning, which I did, but I texted it to a wrong number.
Those settings, I'm Googling it. Yeah, I found this. I have to stop the live on that. No, it seems to be here. Unless you would just go here, but there's a lock meeting button, but it's not there anymore. Maybe I have to stop the live stream first. Maybe it won't let me lock it if it's live streaming. I'll let her do the reading first and then I guess we can stop.
You just tell me what process, and we can just wait a few minutes for him to join.
Well, you already did we already